Insects come in all shapes and sizes. In fact, there are more than 900,000 different species of insects on the planet, which make up an impressive 80% of the world's living species. Therefore, it's no surprise that some of these insects are larger than others. In reality, some of them are huge, ranging from scary beetles with weight problems to wasps so large they enjoy eating tarantulas. Here are 20 of the largest insects ever found in the world. But before we begin, make sure to subscribe to our channel and leave your like. Now, let's get started. Number 20. The giant stick insect. This insect may indeed have the honor of being the largest walking stick in North America, but that doesn't really make it a creature of monstrous size. But how big is the so-called giant stick insect? Well, it ranges from 7.5 to 15 centimeters, which isn't really that impressive. In fact, you might even wonder what it has to boast about. These insects are called walking sticks because of their shape and general resemblance to, well, a stick. And the walking part comes from the fact that they walk. Fascinating, I know. The reason these insects try to look as much like a stick as possible is because they are pretty slow walkers and wouldn't be able to escape a predator even if they tried. So their best option is simply to stand still and pretend to be a boring branch until any potential threat loses interest and moves on in search of something considerably more appetizing. Before we continue, like this video, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell now, or this centipede will crawl on your face while you sleep. Number 19. Goliath beetles. Now, let me tell you something. These are creatures with names that are well suited. The largest and heaviest beetles on the planet, the Goliath beetles, are a crawling nightmare if your nightmare involves large and fat beetles. Goliath beetles are incredibly strong. It is believed that these insects can lift a load 850 times heavier than their own weight, which is quite impressive. They are native to southeastern Africa, preferring the warm climate and dense tropical forests of the region. These insects also have a very interesting appearance, with a variety of distinct colors and patterns on their backs. Male Goliath beetles also have a horn on their heads, which they use to fight other males in intense battles for females during the mating season. Things can get pretty heated in the insect world when these crawlers are trying to make babies, though it's a bit mysterious why these guys are so eager for it. The male Goliath beetle will become so exhausted after mating that it ends up dying from all the excitement. Number 18. Queen Alexandra's birdwing butterfly. A very rare tropical butterfly, notable mainly for its enormous size. It is found in the rainforests of Papua New Guinea, but its habitat is restricted to a very small area, possibly only about 450 square miles, and is steadily shrinking due to deforestation caused by palm oil production. These large butterflies are called birdwings, partly because of the span of their wings and partly because of the way they move. These extraordinary insects can have an impressive wingspan of up to 30 centimeters. 12 inches. And what do they eat to grow so big? Well, when they are still caterpillars, these insects eat a lot, as we all know, but they mainly feed on a vine with particularly long leaves. When fully grown as beautiful butterflies, they restrict themselves to feeding delicately with their proboscis, which is a kind of tubular tongue they unfurl to suck liquids, like elegant ladies. Oh, and an interesting fact about these big beauties, they are poisonous. They get their poison from a toxic plant called pipeline, which offers considerable protection for the species. Anything that bites a birdwing butterfly will have a particularly unpleasant stomachache and will learn a valuable lesson not to eat colorful, winged things, even if they are so beautiful. Number 17. Cicada grasshopper. These huge grasshoppers are the largest of their species and can be found in that country, which has a selection of particularly unusual and often deadly animals, Australia. Because where else? This oversized insect measures between 1.5 and 3 inches, with the female of the species being even larger. Occasionally, there are cicada grasshoppers that reach up to 4 inches long, but these chubby ones are much rarer, probably due to their delicious attraction to many predators. They are considered particularly irresistible to mantids and lynx spiders. The cicada grasshopper is distributed throughout the northern region of mainland Australia, where it generally lives alone. These antisocial types really never join other grasshoppers except, apparently, to cause a public nuisance. So, more or less like a group of disgruntled hooligans, they are solitary creatures, but when an opportunity arises for a bit of mindless collective destruction, like for example a coffee harvest, that's when these enormous insects organize. A small group of cicada grasshoppers can cause quick and serious damage, just like a determined group of antisocial individuals with the intention of causing trouble. Number 16. The Titan beetle. Measuring about 16 centimeters in length, it is larger than your average insect. This is a very large insect indeed, but strangely, despite being so obviously massive, little is known about these creatures and their habits. The titans live in the damp and wet atmosphere of the rainforests of South America. They are capable of flying, but they are too heavy to take off from the ground, so these enormous beetles have powerful legs designed for climbing trees. They climb to a certain height before launching into flight. Although there is still much mystery surrounding the titan, it is believed that when the weather is warmer and more humid, they fly in search of a mate. The titans seem to do this by following the scent of pheromones that these insects release into the air to attract a mating partner. But when it comes to the larvae of these colossal creatures, the mystery deepens. There are no known sightings of the titan beetle larvae. No human knows what they look like or where they can be found. However, there are speculations that the larvae must be hidden inside rotting wood, which they feed on, possibly for several years, before reaching maturity and becoming an adult beetle. In the unlikely event that you are walking through the rainforest and encounter a titan beetle, be warned, these creatures bite, and they bite very hard. Their incredibly strong jaws are capable of delivering a bite that can break a pencil in half. Number 15. The nearly extinct Weta giant. The Weta is a massive insect, a flightless species of cricket that has only been found as a survivor on Little Barrier Island off the coast of New Zealand's North Island. These incredibly rare insects are believed to have fallen victim to a disorganized food chain where they were overwhelmed by predators. In the early 20th century, there were many feral cats on Little Barrier Island. These cats controlled the rodent population, especially the Polynesian rat. Then, when people decided to eliminate the feral cat population from the island, they basically invited the rats back to spread. The rats devoured the Wetas throughout the night and, during the day, were eaten by saddleback birds. It's no surprise that these insects almost disappeared. Then, as often happens, some people realized what was happening and decided to get rid of the rats. The Weta numbers slowly increased, and the insect has now been introduced to other predator-free environments. But I don't know. All this disruption in the food chain seems a bit risky to me. Will we one day be invaded by tons of giant insects? Number 14. The Atlas moth. With a wingspan larger than a human hand, it's no surprise that the Atlas moth is considered one of the largest of all moths. However, despite its significant size and the imposing impression it creates, the Atlas moth has some distinct design flaws. These massive moths lack a feeding mechanism. That's right, after emerging from their cocoons, they can no longer ingest food, and therefore, they don't stay in this world for long. The caterpillar, like all hungry caterpillars, is a greedy and seemingly insatiable creature that will gorge itself until its stomach bursts before transforming into a pupa. So, well, the final stage of the Atlas moth is one of its inevitable and most instantaneous deaths. It's sad, but while they remain in this brief and extravagant moment, Atlas moths are immense. Their wingspan is usually an impressive 30 centimeters, and that's just the edges of the total surface area of these impressive insects, which can reach up to 400 square centimeters. Even the caterpillars are large, growing over 11 centimeters in length as they gorge themselves before transforming. But they need to eat, and they need to eat a lot. Literally, it has to last for the rest of their short lives, which is 1 to 2 weeks, during which they lie down, conserving their precious energy reserves, and then mate as much as possible to lay their eggs before death arrives. Number 13. Tarantula hawk wasp now. To give you a general idea about the scale of the tarantula hawk wasp, just look at its name. The tarantula part is simply an indication of the favorite prey of this giant wasp and something it considers as a pastime, hunting tarantulas. Well, it must be big, right? These horrific insects can be found throughout Southeast Asia, India, the Americas, Africa, and Australia. That is, practically everywhere except the colder regions of the globe. This tarantula hawk wasp is the official insect of the state of New Mexico. What a charming symbol for the state, and undoubtedly an attraction for visitors from all over the world to come and experience everything New Mexico has to offer. But what size are they exactly? Well, they vary, like everything, but females are usually larger, measuring about 7.5 centimeters in length, with a wingspan of approximately 10 centimeters. That's more than enough to give you nightmares and enough body to take on a tarantula and, very well, win. The females are responsible for hunting, using their 1 centimeter stinger to paralyze their prey and drag them into an underground hole where they can then dedicate their time to the slow and unpleasant process of dismembering and devouring. Although these wasps, with their fierce appearance, have a painful sting, they are actually interested in devouring spiders, so they do not pose a significant threat to humans. But don't provoke them, for God's sake. They will attack people if they feel threatened or even slightly annoyed. Number 12. The giant burrowing cockroach. Beautiful, the largest cockroach in the world. Now, this is certainly what we've all been waiting for. The wide and robust body of the giant burrowing cockroach measures about 7.5 centimeters in length and can live up to 10 years. Some people even keep it as a pet. Once again, this is a strange creature that can be found in Australia. The giant burrowing cockroach inhabits the open forests of northern Queensland, where they build burrows in the soil and set up permanent homes. It's here where they do everything from burying their young, sometimes up to 30 at a time, to raising their young and then repeating the cycle. Although these large, shiny brown insects are a bit disgusting, they are also fascinating and valuable members of the forest ecosystem. The way they move and use the soil is part of the process of recycling dead organic matter, which transforms into the rich soil of the forest floor. They build their burrows and chambers underground, and at night they return to the surface to collect dry leaves. This action is essential for the health of the entire ecology of the area, which is somewhat impressive when you think about it. Even the humblest creature has its role, and nothing is without value. Number 11. Midas flies. Whether these flies are truly colossal or not is a matter of perspective, but the fact is they are large enough to be an unpleasant fly. They measure between 7.5 centimeters and 5 centimeters in length, and you know, a 5-centimeter fly is pretty big, right? When you add their size to the fact that these flying insects live in huge swarms, they become even more unpleasant and terrifying. Midas flies are usually dark brown or black, with some red, yellow, or orange markings, and they have only one pair of wings, but they possess unusual antennas that make them stand out from other flying insects. You can find them in North America, where they enjoy living in forests and open areas with soil, such as your garden, as well as desert environments. They feed on nectar and pollen, and also have a preference for beetle larvae, so they can often be found on rotting wood from trees. Number 10. Hercules beetle. Although not officially the largest of beetles, that award goes to the Goliath, the Hercules beetle is no fragile insect. These colossal creatures can grow as large as an adult man's hand, which is a bit alarming, especially when you consider the fact that these creatures have a set of quite alien horns that work together with a second set to form a kind of claw. How scary! Females don't have horns, unfortunately, and tend to be a bit smaller as well. However, they can emit such a vibration that if a male of the species is in the vicinity of a female, he can locate her and immediately orient himself toward her. She releases such a powerful pheromone that it is absolutely irresistible to these little guys. In the world, there is something called the beetle enthusiast market. To us, the uninitiated, this sounds like a bizarre and mysterious cult, but these insect fans are especially passionate about the magnificent Hercules beetle and would be happy to pay up to $700 for the privilege of putting their hands, full of love for insects, on one for their collection. Number 9. The giant water bugs. Known as water bugs, even though they are giant, they seem harmless, but don't be fooled, these insects have some very unpleasant and even deadly habits. They are, in fact, relentless killers, with a truly disgusting feeding style. The giant water bugs live in freshwater swamps, ponds, and pools in many places around the world, and their preferred spot is to stay among the layers of vegetation just below the water's surface. Interestingly, although they are insects, these guys are ambush predators and lie in wait for something tasty to pass by before attacking, grabbing it with their pincer-like appendages, and then injecting their partner venomous and digestive saliva into the unfortunate prey. This unpleasant cocktail starts to liquefy the internal organs of the prey, allowing the giant water bug to simply suck up the delicious goo straight from the carcass without the need to chew. These insects are truly capable of capturing prey many times larger than themselves and then sucking them dry. Although you, as a human, are not the prey of this particular insect, you happen to get too close. So, keep an eye on where you put your precious feet, because the bite may not be toxic, but it definitely brings a lot of discomfort. Number 8. The Acon beetle. And here we have another big beetle for your pleasure. This time it's the Acon beetle, another contender for the title of largest beetle. This beetle measures about 12 centimeters long and 7 centimeters wide, with the largest specimens reaching 13.7 centimeters in length. So, although they are not microscopic insects, they may not be the largest we've ever seen, they are, however, the heaviest, which is something to be excited about. Huzzah! In fact, with a maximum recorded weight of 8.04 ounces, 227 grams, these creatures are apparently not only the heaviest beetle, but also the heaviest of all insects. So that's an accomplishment after all. Perhaps the most interesting thing about these beetles is their name. They were named after Acon, the famous hero from Greek mythology. The story of Acon is brutal, where the hero goes from hunter to being transformed into a deer, and then is hunted and torn apart by his own dogs. That's basically the essence of Acon's story. So how these beetles got their name is still a big mystery. Number 7. The giant darner dragonfly. This beautiful and enormous dragonfly is the largest in all of the United States. The most striking feature of it is its bright blue and black coloring, which makes it easy to recognize. Oh, and they are also giant. You won't miss them. Anyway, these big flying beasts mainly live in the southern states and can generally be found in Arizona, California, Colorado, Nevada, and New Mexico, preferring small streams and dry climates, as this is the ideal environment to protect their eggs and offspring from predators, as well as being the most comfortable temperature and humidity level for their biological composition. The giant darner dragonflies mainly feed on other smaller insects. In particular, they have a preference for mosquitoes and often share the same habitats, which makes perfect sense, just like ants and flies that live near puddles. The main predator of the dragonfly is the hummingbird. Well, that is, when they reach adulthood, because their larvae are often eagerly devoured by any fish that has the opportunity to swallow them, and most aquatic insects also love this tasty snack. It's really a miracle that any of them survive. Number 6. The St. Helena Boulevard. Now this is, frankly, a bit sad. In 2014, the largest bug in the world was declared extinct. Of course, no one likes a bug, particularly, but any species that goes extinct is somewhat lamentable, right? Before the complete and total extinction of this crawling insect, it held the official title of the largest of all bugs and often measured up to 3.1 inches. Really massive for one of these creatures. The problem was that these insects were found in only one place on Earth, St. Helena Island, in the remote South Atlantic. This means that when they disappeared from there, they disappeared from everywhere. And as usual, it was humans who contributed to the extinction of this species. The removal of rocks from their habitats, where the insects found shelter, was probably the cause of a significant decline in their numbers. And when this was compounded by the introduction of several invasive species that hunted the giant bug, such as rats, mice, spiders, and such, it caused a colossal and irreversible effect on the delicate balance of the ecosystem. The first victims were the St. Helena bugs, and there are many other species of animals that are only found there, so fingers crossed for all the others. Number 5. Scolopendra Gigantia millipede. With the eye-catching name of Scolopendra Gigantia, this centipede is found primarily in the tropical and subtropical forests of northern South America. It is officially the largest centipede on the planet, so it should really earn a crown or even a Chewy medal, or at least some kind of certificate from our old friends with clipboards from the Guinness Book of World Records. However, these creatures are too busy crawling through fallen leaves and decaying wood in the rainforest to worry about being in the record books. These giant centipedes typically grow over 30 centimeters in length and use their supersize to hunt very large prey. Among the giant centipede's favorite dinners are other insects, especially spiders, scorpions, and millipedes, and they also enjoy some mammals, like rats and bats, and even the occasional bird or frog. This also gives a hint of how big these creatures can be, and before you think they're really feeding only on such tiny creatures, well, humans are not exactly totally safe from these giant insects, as they have a venomous bite, which is dangerous to people. There has even been a recorded death due to the bite of one of these creatures, so that's almost reassuring, right? Number 4. Arthropleura. The Arthropleura lived in North America and Great Britain during the era known as the Carboniferous period. And yes, this insect was a 6-meter-long millipede with a body made up of up to 30 armored plates, with a pair of legs beneath each one. Ah, the nightmares. They fed on dead wood and leaves and thrived due to the concentration of oxygen in the Earth's atmosphere at the time. It's what scientists believe caused these beings to grow to such notable sizes. With poor vision, these monstrous insects likely had a sharp sense of smell and touch, all to find food and detect other animals around them. Despite being the largest invertebrate to have ever existed, it seems the Arthropleura was vegetarian. The only thing to fear from this gigantic animal was when it crawled over your face while you were sleeping. Number 3. The giant African mantis. This is the kind of mantis some people like to keep as pets. They really do seem to have strangely expressive faces. That's true, but what kind of pet interaction do you really have with a cannibalistic insect? Seriously, if you know, please tell me everything in the comments below. What is the appeal of these insects as domestic companions? Well, aside from being a favorite among insect pet enthusiasts, the giant African mantises are also the largest in the mantis family. These insects can regularly grow several centimeters in length or more, with the largest recorded being just over 30 centimeters. They typically live at least a year after reaching maturity, so it's not quite the same as a pet dog, but maybe more like a carnival goldfish. In any case, these unusual insects have some distinctive features. They are branch mimics, meaning they are perfectly adapted to camouflage among the branches of a tree. This is a useful trait to help the mantis hunt prey and avoid predators. The terrifying insects seem to have been designed for a sci-fi movie, with their heads sporting alien-like eyes and intensely sinister bodies, with all their terrifying gestures making the mantis a perfect inspiration for nightmares. Add to this the female's famous post-coital cannibalism tendency, and it's no surprise these incredible insects have a bit of a reputation. That's right, in case you didn't know. The female mates with the male, and after the act is done, she bites his head off and devours him. It turns out that this seemingly psychotic behavior can actually make it more likely for the mantis to reproduce. Well, the female, of course, because the male is already dead. Number 2. Wallace's giant bee. This is the largest known species of living bee on the planet. It is in great danger of extinction and was believed to be extinct until it was rediscovered in 1981. After that, people also thought it had disappeared when no other specimen was found for many years. The ones that still exist are black resin bees with huge jaws. There's nothing too alarming about that, right? They can reach sizes between 2.3 centimeters and 3.8 centimeters in length, with a wingspan of up to 6.3 centimeters, which is quite considerable. And that large jaw? Well, it's unique to the female of the species, and it's exactly what makes this bee so distinct from other varieties. This adaptation allows the bee to collect resin, using its jaws to carry large resin clumps, which are then used to build its nests inside termite mounds. It's strange, but as they say, there's an explanation for everything, right? Number 1. Alligator bug. On one side, it looks like a common insect, with wings and legs, everything you would expect from an insect. But when you get to its head, that's when the story completely changes. The alligator bug, also known as the peanut bug, is apparently extremely tasty to all other animals in the tropical rainforest. So this little creature had to develop some unusual adaptations to survive. It has a series of built-in defense mechanisms in its body. First, the alligator bug is a particularly well-camouflaged insect, with markings and colors that help it blend perfectly into the environment. But it must really be delicious, because this insect also has to use several other safety features to defend itself from predators. The huge head, shaped like a peanut and resembling that of an alligator, is another one of these mechanisms. The idea is that it makes the small insect look like a large and frightening snake, not a tasty treat. If the predator doesn't fall for this, then the alligator bug's head is not where it keeps its brain and other vital parts. In fact, it is hollow and can be detached. The theory is that if the predator bites this fake peanut, the insect can use this trick to escape quickly. But if that doesn't work, these insects have large eye patterns on their wings, which can open quickly to scare off the attacker. And if all else fails, the alligator bug has a secret and stinky weapon. It can release a spray of foul-smelling liquid as pungent as the odor of a skunk. At least, that should reduce the appetite of the more persistent predators. Number 1. Alligator bug. On one side, it looks like a common insect, with wings and legs, everything you would expect from an insect. But when you get to its head, that's when the story completely changes. The alligator bug, also known as the peanut bug, is apparently extremely tasty to all other animals in the tropical rainforest, so this little creature had to develop some unusual adaptations to survive. It has a series of built-in defense mechanisms in its body. First, the alligator bug is a particularly well-camouflaged insect with markings and colors that help it blend perfectly into the environment. But it must really be delicious, because this insect also has to use several other safety features to defend itself from predators. The huge head, shaped like a peanut and resembling that of an alligator, is another one of these mechanisms. The idea is that it makes the small insect look like a large and frightening snake, not a tasty treat. If the predator doesn't fall for this, then the alligator bug's head is not where it keeps its brain and other vital parts. In fact, it is hollow and can be detached. The theory is that if the predator bites this fake peanut, the insect can use this trick to escape quickly. But if that doesn't work, these insects have large eye patterns on their wings, which can can open quickly to scare off the attacker. And if all else fails, the alligator bug has a secret and stinky weapon. It can release a spray of foul-smelling liquid as pungent as the odor of a skunk. At least, that should reduce the appetite of the more persistent predators. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you enjoyed our content, subscribe to our channel and leave a like. Also, check out other interesting content that is appearing on your screen right now, and I'll see you in the next video. See you next time.